highway, a never-ending stretch of road cutting through dark forests, lonely deserts, and empty ghost towns. For truckers, it's not just a road, it's a way of life, almost like a second home. But sometimes, the familiar turns into something terrifying, and the road becomes a path into the unknown. Here are 3 spine-chilling stories told by truckers, real stories that might make you think twice before driving late at night. I've been a trucker for over 10 years now, and while most of my trips are pretty normal, this particular night still gives me chills. It was February 5th, about 3 years ago. I was driving for a freight company out of Nebraska, heading to Colorado. It was winter and the night was freezing cold, the kind of cold that gets into your bones. I started driving at dusk, planning to drive straight through without stopping. Around midnight, my eyes were getting heavy, and I felt the weight of exhaustion. I splashed some water on my face to wake up. Just as I reached for my thermos, I saw someone, up ahead, standing right in the middle of the road. I hit the brakes hard, the truck skidded, and the tires squealed against the icy road. My headlights shone on a figure wearing a long black coat that was flapping in the wind. It was a man, but something about him seemed off. His neck was long, almost too long, like he had no shoulders. His face was hidden in the shadows, and no matter how much I squinted, I just couldn't see it. A chill ran down my back as I slowed to a near stop. I was about to roll down my window to ask if he needed help when suddenly he turned and ran into the woods, running faster than any human should. My heart pounded, and I felt pure fear. I hit the gas and sped off, my pulse racing faster than the truck. I tried to convince myself it was just my tired mind playing tricks on me, but a few minutes later something else happened. As I was finally starting to calm down, I saw something move to my right. It darted across the road. In the darkness, I thought it was a deer, but as it crossed into the light, I saw it was another person, crouching low and running like an animal. My heart jumped into my throat. This time, I didn't even think of stopping. I kept driving, fear pushing me to get away as fast as possible. The road seemed endless, each mile feeling longer than the last. My vision was blurring, and I knew I needed to stop soon. Eventually, I found a small spot just off the road, a gravel patch barely big enough for my truck. I parked, leaned back, and closed my eyes, hoping to rest for a bit. Not even an hour later, I woke up suddenly, my heart pounding. The air felt heavy, almost like there was something dark in it. I didn't know why, but I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. I reached for the headlights and switched them on. There he was, the man with the long neck, standing not 10 feet from my truck. This time, I could see his face. His eyes were wide open, almost bulging, and his mouth was stretched into a smile that seemed way too wide, filled with too many teeth. He was staring at me, not moving. Terror shot through me. I didn't think. I started the truck, shifted into gear, and sped out of there as fast as I could. My hands were shaking and I kept looking in the mirrors, expecting to see him chasing me. I didn't stop until I reached my destination. Even then, I barely slept. That face, that smile, still haunts my nightmares, reminding me of something lurking out there on Route 47. The next day, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me. I checked my truck for any signs of damage or anything unusual, but everything seemed fine. Yet that feeling of unease wouldn't leave me. It was as if that man, with his unnatural neck and chilling smile, had left some kind of mark on me. Even now, whenever I drive through dark, empty roads, I catch myself looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see him lurking in the distance. A week after that incident, I heard from a fellow trucker about a strange sighting on Route 47. He mentioned seeing a shadowy figure standing by the road, staring at him as he drove by. His description matched the man I had seen, down to the long neck and the eerie smile. We exchanged stories over a cup of coffee, and I could see the fear in his eyes, the same fear that I felt. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't just in my head. It was real, and it was still out there. Before my current job, I spent a couple of years delivering packages for a courier service in North Carolina. This was back in 2011, on a cold winter evening, just after sunset. The road was lined with trailer homes on one side and thick woods on the other. I was on my last delivery of the day and just wanted to get it done quickly. The neighborhood was isolated, the kind of place where if you yelled for help, no one would hear. The house was an old, run-down trailer, rusted and neglected. There were no lights on inside and no car in the driveway. I knocked on the door, holding the package, waiting. A curtain moved slightly, and then I heard the creak of footsteps. The door opened slowly, and an older woman stood there. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, like she hadn't seen daylight in a long time. She spoke softly, almost whispering, and asked if I could bring the box inside for her. It was heavy, and she looked frail. I hesitated, something inside me telling me not to go in, but I agreed. As soon as I stepped inside, I was hit by a horrible smell, so bad I almost gagged. It smelled like decay, thick and sickening. The trailer was dim, barely lit by a flickering lamp, and the shadows seemed to move as if they were alive. She led me down a narrow hallway to the back of the trailer and asked me to put the box in the closet of a small room. I asked if she could turn on a light, but she said the bulb was out. The room was nearly pitch dark, the only light coming from the hallway behind me. As I moved the box toward the closet, I felt something, a presence, like someone else was in the room. I froze. In the corner, barely visible, was a figure, someone crouching, hiding in the darkness. I could see them shift slightly, trying not to be seen. My breath caught in my throat, and I felt my skin prickle with fear. My instinct screamed at me to leave. I turned around, mumbling that I had to go. The old woman's face changed, her eyes narrowing, her mouth twisting into an angry sneer. She started yelling, her voice no longer soft but filled with anger, calling me names, demanding I come back. I didn't look back. I rushed out, slamming the door behind me, my heart pounding in my ears. As I drove away, I kept looking in the rearview mirror, expecting to see someone or something following me. I still don't know who was hiding in that closet or what they planned to do, but I'm grateful I never stayed to find out. For weeks after that delivery, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had narrowly escaped something terrible. I replayed the scene over and over in my head, wondering what would have happened if I had stayed. Who was that figure in the closet? Why was the old woman so insistent that I come back? The questions haunted me, and every time I thought about it, I felt a chill run down my spine. I even drove by that trailer a few times after the incident, just out of curiosity. Each time it looked deserted, no lights, no signs of life. One day, I worked up the courage to ask a neighbor about the woman who lived there. The neighbor gave me a strange look and said, "That place has been empty for years." My blood ran cold. I knew what I had seen, and there was no mistaking it. But if that trailer was supposed to be empty, then who or what had I met that night? I've driven across state lines more times than I can count, but nothing compares to the night I drove through the Mojave Desert. It was a late-night haul, transporting supplies from Los Angeles to Phoenix. The desert at night is something else, vast, empty, and pitch dark. Around 1 a.m., I saw red lights flashing far ahead. As I got closer, I realized it was an old car, with hazard lights blinking on the side of the road. It was an old Buick, dusty and worn out. I pulled over, wanting to help. I knew how dangerous it could be to be stuck out here alone. The car was empty. The doors were shut, but there was no one inside. I shone my flashlight around, trying to see if anyone was nearby. That's when I noticed something in the distance, an old gas station barely visible in the moonlight, its windows broken, the gas pumps rusted and forgotten. I approached carefully, calling out. My voice echoed in the empty desert. As I reached the entrance, I heard it, a whisper coming from inside. It was low, almost like a growl, and I couldn't quite make out the words. "Get out." The words were slow, deliberate, and filled with menace. My flashlight flickered, and I heard heavy breathing from somewhere deep inside the building. A chill ran down my spine, making every hair on my body stand up. I turned and walked back to my truck, each step faster than the last. As I reached my door, I heard it again, a scream, faint but unmistakable, coming from the gas station. It was a scream filled with pain and fear. I jumped into my truck, started the engine, and sped away, my heart pounding like it was going to burst. Just as I was about to call the police, I saw headlights in my side mirror. The Buick, its lights were on, and it was coming up behind me, fast. I couldn't see anyone in the driver's seat, just the blinding lights. I pushed the truck harder, not stopping until I saw the glow of a rest stop up ahead. When the police arrived, we went back to the gas station. Inside, they found something I didn't expect, a pool of fresh blood shining under their flashlights. There was no one there, and no sign of the Buick. For days after, I couldn't shake the memory of that night, the way the whisper seemed to come from nowhere, the scream that echoed in the darkness, and the headlights of the car chasing me. All of it felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I spoke to a few other truckers about it, and one of them mentioned hearing rumors about that stretch of the Mojave, stories of strange sightings, of people disappearing without a trace. It made me wonder if I had stumbled into something far more sinister than I could comprehend. I still drive that route from time to time, but I never stop near that gas station. Even just passing by it, I feel a chill run through me. The building is still there, broken and abandoned like a ghost from my past. I often think about what might have happened if I had gone further into that building, if I had ignored the warning and stayed. But some questions are better left unanswered. If these creepy stories gave you chills, think about what could still be hiding in the shadows of deserted roads and abandoned places. Subscribe to Haunting Chapters for more scary stories that will keep you on edge. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, because everyone has a story and some roads are best left alone.